I've been a fan of Junji Ito for more than a decade, ever since I first read The Enigma of Amagar Fault on 4chan back in the day. Posted page by page, I was gripped by the unnerving story, until that final, memorable image cemented my love for one of the world's greatest creators of horror fiction. In the mid-2000s, Ito's work wasn't widely known except on the internet, and even then by fewer people than you'd think. Despite a decent amount of his work being available in English in stores back then, it was most commonly seen by denizens of forums and image boards, by users that had a thirst for horrific media, and who had sought out the strange images that captivated them the most. Uzumaki in particular was shared a lot. Not the entire work, but single pages or panels. Sites that made you shudder and gasp and ask yourself, what the hell is wrong with the person that created this? But in a good way. I sought out and read everything of Ito's I could find in those days, and while it was a substantial amount, it wasn't enough, for me or for any of his English-speaking fans. Before long, scanlators, people or groups that not only translated a work but also made it easily readable online, started cropping up, determined to spread more of Ito's work to the West. And before Daniel Lau did his English version of Hellstar Remina, I was kind of part of an effort to bring it to English readers for the first time. In 2008 or 2009, I spent a lot of time on 4chan's paranormal board, X. I had a horror and occult fetish, and it was the place to go before Reddit became popular. People often posted and reposted various horror manga, including Junji Ito's works. But one day, a user made a thread expressing a desire to translate Hellstar Remina, a volume-sized work by Ito that had not been, and presumably would never be if not for scanlators, translated into English. This user could translate it, but all the other work was a little too much for them to do on their own. Being excited about a new and longer Ito work being available in English, and with copious amounts of free time, I offered to help. I cleaned the entire volume, wiping away all text except for sound effects, so the translator could just put the English text where the Japanese had been. It wasn't very difficult, just time-consuming, but it felt fulfilling. I was going to help the rest of the internet read something by Junji Ito. Unfortunately, the translator disappeared. Rather, they never returned, and everything being anonymous, 4chan, right? There was no way to contact them. I gave up hope of ever reading Remina because at that point, it seemed certain that no English company wanted anything to do with him or his manga. None of his work had been released in years, and nobody seemed to care about anything he had done. His fans were just a small, if fervent, group online. Fast forward to 2020, of course, and Ito is immensely popular in North America, and a ton of his work is being published here, including Hellstar Remina, now called simply Remina because I guess the word hell is too much for some people. Finally, the work I never got to read was available, and I could check it off my list of things to read. Neglecting the fact that Daniel Lau did a translation of it years earlier because, well, I never got around to reading it back then. But this one's official! Yay! To start with, the Remina book itself is impressive. It's a hardback, of good size, so you can see a lot of Ito's detailing, which he excels at. On the inside covers is a wonderful color picture of Remina, both the planet and the woman. It is worth the money. My only complaints are that this book doesn't include the short story Army of One, which was included in the original Japanese release. Its absence kind of upsets me, but that's probably only because I know it was there in the Japanese version. For most people, that won't be a problem. Another thing that will only bug people like me that were familiar with the work before its English release is the title change from Hellstar Remina to simply Remina. I guess Viz thought the word hell would be too much for some people to take. It's unfortunate, because I think that Hellstar really adds flavor to the title. It gets you a little unnerved before you even start reading, but maybe it was removed to better show off the juxtaposition of the two Reminas in the story. It is, after all, about both of them. In the book, a new planet is discovered, and the man that finds it names it Remina after his daughter. This planet soon threatens Earth, prompting humanity to decide to kill Remina, the woman, in hopes of stopping Remina, the planet. It's a tale of superstition, fear, destruction, cosmic horror, and humanity's worst traits. Unfortunately, this book doesn't quite live up to what our imaginations may expect when hearing that description, but that's not necessarily a failing on the part of Ito. Rather, you shouldn't expect too much before you start reading. Yes, there is a giant planet heading for Earth, and yes, that is frightening, and we do get to see the disastrous effects of that, but the story is more about how humanity responds to fear. Remina, the woman, becomes famous because her father named a new planet after her. But not only does her name become known, she leans into the fame and becomes an idol. People love her, and for no reason other than they know her name. Her being attractive doesn't hurt, and she seems to have some talent singing or dancing. We're never told what exactly she does to win people's acclaim. And that's intentional. Remina is an example of a person that gains attention and adoration simply because we are told that she should be adored, and because people want to adore someone. We like our celebrities, our idols, that serve as role models or people we can live vicariously through. Remina didn't earn her fame, she just accepted it because it was offered. But as Remina, the planet, looms overhead and threatens destruction, the people turn on Remina, the woman. They blame her for the planet's existence, with the flimsiest excuse ever. Because they share the same name, the woman must be calling the planet. It's ridiculous, but believable. People tend to make absurd leaps in logic when there are no other solutions, especially when they're scared. Here, Ito has crafted a story that tells, with minimum details, how evil people can be, how selfish and short-sighted they can get when faced with a potential loss. But we can't ignore the fact that the target of people's violence in Remina is a woman that was shortly before beloved by all. They turn on her so quickly, so fervently, and it's hard not to see that as an indictment of our society. We often mistreat women as a culture. We like them when they're performing, but when they say things we disagree with, or when we need a scapegoat, they are easy targets. And we victimize them, put them as damsels in distress. Even Remina herself shows this. How different would this work be if the main character had been a man? It would have been very different, for sure. And this isn't simply an American thing. It's also something that occurs in Japanese culture as well. You just need to look at the idol situation over there and how an idol can completely plummet in terms of how much people like her because of her behavior outside of being an idol, such as having a boyfriend or something like that, something simple, and people will turn against her. It's a shame, and it's a problem that America and Japan share, albeit in different ways. We are two very different cultures, but this is a persistent problem in both countries. Social commentary aside, the ideas in Remina are intriguing and frightening, but the book, for better or worse, lightens the mood some towards the end with, for lack of a better way to describe them, wacky shenanigans happening as Remina, the planet, descends onto Earth. Things get really weird in a memorable but not very scary way. It's an odd part that slows down the tension. Maybe Ito thought that the work was too pessimistic up to that point and wanted to brighten it up a little. Whatever his thought process was, the book still comes to a magnificent conclusion, one that will surely stick with the reader for a long time, and will no doubt cause nightmares in more than a few people. Bottom line, Hellstar Remina offers a chilling fantasy about a force far greater than us, while also showing how depraved humanity can be. It may not have as many horrific images as Uzumaki or Tomie, but it makes up for that in how cataclysmic its images are, how far-reaching and disturbing. I wouldn't suggest it as a person's introduction to Junji Ito's work, but it definitely deserves a spot on every horror manga fan's shelf. Hi everyone, thanks for watching. I really love making this video. I love Junji Ito. I hope to cover more of his stuff soon. I've actually wanted to do it for a long time with the channel, and I had some works in progress that I just never quite finished, but the computer all that was on got destroyed, and I didn't have any backups. I've lost a lot of stuff, and it's really set me back. It's really hurt me mentally, as well as just how much time I put into those projects. But I'm determined to keep working on them, to start new. And this is something I wasn't working on before, but having read the book, found it in whatever store I found it, I knew I wanted to talk about it. Especially because of the past I have with it, and how close I came to being sort of a part of Junji Ito American reading history. And the story here I told isn't the end of my history with scanlation and bringing horror manga to an English-speaking audience, although I don't have a ton to tell. But if you've ever Googled my name or come across it, you might have found that I actually scanlated the bulk of Kazuo Umezu's Orochi series, something I am still very proud of. And if they were published in English, I'd go and buy every volume immediately. I would love to do it, but that doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen. Umezu is getting more well-known nowadays. Junji Ito has really opened the door for horror manga in the West. But it seems like most people still only know The Drifting Classroom, which I would love to talk about at some point. I just have to make time for it and maybe find a couple $100 to drop on all of the volumes. I've read it previously, but that was a long time ago. Maybe I'll just find a movie adaptation of it and give my thoughts about that, and maybe just say, go read the manga if you can afford to buy all the volumes. Buy the first one at least. I think they have double versions of it. But anyways, yeah, I've always loved horror manga, and Junji Ito is essentially the king of it. He's definitely the most popular, and the person who's been most popular for a long time, and he deserves it. He's fantastic. He does so much. There's so many stories, and now there's so many volume size, and a couple volumes. Gyo is 2 volumes, Uzumaki is 3. If you collect all of the Tomie, I think it equals about 3 volumes. But I love talking about it. If you're receptive to it, please just, give me a like. Let me know that what I'm doing is good and worthwhile. And if there's a particular series you want me to talk about, just leave a comment with the name, with the author. I'll look into it. I'll do what I can, and I'll say whatever comes to mind about it, whether it's a whole lot or just a little, just to get its name out there. Even if it's one of the most popular things that everyone knows about, like Uzumaki, I'll still maybe talk about it if someone wants me to. Because I love this stuff. I could talk for hours about it, and I have, albeit in my private life. I gotta start transitioning that to YouTube though, so I can share it with more people. Because hearing about horror manga still isn't a thing that happens as much as fans would enjoy. I mean, I know I can't get enough of people talking about it. So, anyways, again, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I have more of these videos coming up. And I got all kinds of stuff I want to do. But whatever seems the most popular, I'll definitely gravitate towards. So, if this ends up being something that people really like, this is what I'll be working on the most. Alright, thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone. And I don't know, stay spooky? I think someone already says that, though. Am I ripping someone off? Whatever. Yeah, it's cool. Stay spooks, everybody.